I don't need to explain to you how much of a disaster the Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown launch has been, because I've explained it to people 50 million times. Today, we're doing a little side video called Lunch with Pants. By the way, these not an ad. I didn't say anything. So, they put out this Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown launch dev diary update next steps type video, and quite frankly, the comments are not happy. And I kind of don't blame them. However, I would kind of argue that people are focusing on the wrong point of this video and maybe going a bit far with some of the things. Let's just read the top comment. Things you need to add: houses, side missions, delivery convoy, AI difficulty setting. This video is a perfect example of everything wrong with the video game industry. Ouch. You'll see a lot of these comments about Test Drive is not about competitiveness and so on and so forth. I have some bigger problems with this video. I've skimmed through it. I've not watched all the way through. There are some points that are just the most insane thing I've ever heard from a developer's mouth. The problem, again, some of it could have been lost in translation. It could seem a little wrong in some situations where they said it in a certain way. We'll only know if we could properly translate French using this as... So those words don't properly translate. That's basically what I'm saying. So let's get on with it and let's see exactly what they've got to say.
Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown has been out for several days now, and we wanted to take a moment to talk with you to go over every...
So this one quick note is worth mentioning, that the couple of people that I've always been kind of talking about in these videos, Alain is there. And he is the creative director and the game director. Just to explain the relationship of usually the case here in these type of roles, sometimes the game director can just be called the director and blah, 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 blah. The creative director is... They're going to throw everything they possibly can at the game. They have the biggest ideas. They want to do absolutely everything. And then the game director's job is to basically tell you why that cannot be. They steer the ship into a direction. They are basically in charge of what you play. What you've played is their decisions of cutting things out and simplifying things until eventually, well, you get to this point of where the game is. So the relationship between these two people can often be quite combative because the creative wants to do everything, but the game director has to allocate budget, or not specifically, but allocate where the time should be spent and what aspects should get the focus and what shouldn't. Very important, worth knowing that. All right, carry on.
Over everything that's happened so far. A lot has happened. There have been plenty of questions raised by the player community, and we also encountered
Is that like a burp or something?
Issues, especially with the servers. We're aware of that. So we wanted to address it, talk about what's been happening, discuss the steps we're taking, and also give you an idea of what's coming very soon for Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.
Good so far.
Regarding the launch of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, we experienced some network issues, despite our efforts to put in place as many safeguards as possible to ensure things would go smoothly. I worked on the previous test drive game, TDU2, and back then we faced major network problems.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to go through that again. So with Solar Crown, things are going better because players can access the game.
How does that make any sense? All right, Alan, I love you. I love you. The main guy, TDU12, Alan, he's here. The other guy was Fergus, by the way. The crew. Anyway. How has this gone better? Now, my big argument is, I guess, is more people are playing online, which is his kind of want. He wants everyone to play together because, again, a social experience is a shared experience. It's a good experience. It's a better experience if you share things with friends. No question there. How has this gone better? TDU2, yes, also had these major problems, and I'm sure those were stressful, but to be completely honest with you, it didn't matter because you could play the game offline. So, in TDU2, I keep seeing this a lot, you could switch, basically, to online offline mode, and you didn't need to do that. The game just did it for you. There's a little icon in the corner that's constantly red now, and it went to like orange when there were problems, and then green when you were connected, no problem. You could do practically everything in Test Drive Unlimited 2, even without the internet connection, or if the servers were completely down. So that means we can still play it to this day. TDU Solar Crown, there is no option as such. You have to be online. So I don't see how that this has gone better. Week 1, yes, TDU 2 probably was still having problems, but I've been playing the game for a week, and this game I've played for maybe 10 hours. Okay, you know, sure, the servers now work, but like, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Every time you do a maintenance, the servers are acting up for about 2 days. So I don't know how good that is.
Some had to try a few times, especially at the beginning,
Some had to try a few times.
but they managed to get in. We had taken far more precautions than...
Like, this is difficult for me because I love him. He's a great guy. I love his passion. He absolutely just bleeds passion.
We did with the previous TDU, running a lot more tests.
Actually, we had beta phases set up specifically for that.
No, you didn't. Stop lying. A closed beta test, locked to specific versions of it, not all run at the same time, is not particularly testing for servers.
Of course, they helped answer a lot of questions, and we were able to fix a lot of things. I think the important point is that we made a lot of progress. There weren't as many issues as during the beta phases, but as we...
Because there were less players to stress test the server, therefore you should have an open beta. This is something I've mentioned a lot, but again, because this is just a big video that I'm going to be doing. Having an open beta is good for your game for a few reasons. And I get it, you don't want to give away the game for free, or if someone messes with it and manages to get through stuff like towards the end of the betas, people manage to get through the limitations of the map. You don't want to give the whole game away from the go. And I get it. I absolutely get it. However, you need to maybe even restrict it even more. Make it such a restricted experience, just the free roam is accessible, and maybe you can't even do races or anything. And that would have been fine, quite frankly, because what needs to happen with the beta is a test. It is a test to see whether, in this situation specifically, the servers could handle what we was giving and any performance issues that people might have. They might be able to find some fixes and different configurations, and but they can figure out all these things. But realistically, for this game, they've done nothing performance-wise from the beta to now, at least on the console versions. So nothing really changed there. What would have changed, I believe, they did some server infrastructure changes. But the betas had issues. And if the betas had issues, you're not expecting the full game release to have issues. It's kind of nutty, kind of crazy. I don't know who's in charge there. This isn't even the craziest part of it. It gets mental. It gets
we
kind
didn't
of crazy.
anticipate having so many players. There are issues that only appear when a certain number of players are online, and that's probably what we couldn't foresee at that time.
What did I just say?
It's not so much that we were overwhelmed by success, because we were always prepared for a large number of players. But it did reveal problems that we couldn't detect before. So right now, that's what we're working on fixing. A lot of things will be coming with the week 1 patch, which is what we call it internally. It's essentially the patch that's coming very soon. It's going to address a lot of server-side issues, as Anna mentioned. And during maintenance, we've already been able to fix some things server-side. But now, we need to make bigger fixes that we call client-side correction. Those are issues in the game itself. So these are big changes that are coming soon.
They did bring out this patch, by the way, and again, it broke the servers for... Well, the maintenance went on for 9 hours, and the servers were broken for, like, a few hours after that. So, all day, the game was basically inaccessible. Unless you're American, I guess, which probably where most of the player base is, right? Right? I don't know.
The closed beta definitely brought us a lot of valuable insights, but having a large number of players also had its own impact. Having so many players obviously brought us to a point where we had to address certain issues in real time. Issues that we only could see once we reached that stage.
Oh, really?
And there are things we've been able to fix on the server side, which is what you've likely noticed during the maintenance periods, or when there were spontaneous disconnections, those sorts of things. These are issues we continue to work on, and it will be an ongoing process. However, most of the problems will be addressed with the first major patch, which fixes over 300 bugs. These bugs range across different areas, but a lot of them focus on server issues, problems with saving your progress and things like that. These are major
Oh, I
pain
had this, by
points,
the way.
small
My
but
progress
impactful
just didn't
issues that
save.
can be very frustrating, especially when they keep happening during your game sessions. It will be fixed with this first patch.
Cool.
Since the game's release, we've been gradually improving the server side, which is crucial for the game step by step. But this patch will fix a lot of in-game issues and bugs, and at the
Cool,
same time,
fine, yeah.
it will be synchronized with a major server update that will also resolve many connection problems.
One of my other issues with this is, where's the apology? I don't see any sorry. That's kind of weird, is it not? Like, sorry, you've spent money on a product that didn't work for a week. Like, sorry should have been the first word out of the mouths of these people. It's just kind of crazy that they don't set the tone. Say sorry, explain that you're not a AAA game. Okay, maybe not even that, but like, explain that you've had the team working 24/7 to steer the ship and get this working. Like, you do these for like a human connection, but it seems like once again that we're the peasants and we're like, please let us have access to the thing we paid for. It would be so kind of you to let us have access to the thing we paid for. That would be so kind of you. I deserve access to the thing I paid for twice and still had issues.
It's really important to understand this. This is super important. That even though we have this huge patch, there's a delay before we can get it. It needs to go through testing, which is a major step.
Okay,
and
yeah.
it also has to be approved by the console manufacturers,
Yeah, fine.
obviously, for them to give us the green light. Of course, we want to deliver it to you as quickly as possible, but it has to be tested to ensure the highest quality. That's just part of the development process.
So the patch doesn't just come with bug fixes, there are also improvements to the game.
Ooh.
Of course, I think one of the biggest challenges right now is optimization. As you've noticed, there are some small performance drops. Initially, with this first patch, we'll mainly
Just to let you know, More Games TV, the comparison of the frame rates, exactly the same.
focus on all consoles and platforms, but the emphasis will be on PC. Overall, you can expect a better experience soon. A second patch will come a little later that will specifically address issues on the PS5. We know we are currently experiencing performance problems on the PS5, particularly with lower graphics quality. All of that will be included in a major patch for the PS5, which is separate from this first patch because it's obviously much larger, more involved, and requires more testing. But it is coming, and it's coming soon as well.
Okay, cool, fine. Good to see that, because PS5 was terrible when I played it, I'm going to be completely honest. Like,
It'll come fairly quickly after the first
Yes,
patch.
exactly.
Unacceptable.
This patch comes with bug fixes, but it also coincides with the launch of the new season,
That's right.
the first season of the Solar Crown line.
Exactly. As you can see, everyone was a bit hyped about the arrival of the season.
and then they delayed it.
So when the patch arrives, the season will need to take
Okay,
a little
we
extra
understand.
time and be patient to pass.
Okay, this is where things get a little bit twisted. So, Season 1, by the way, by the time this is out, it's out. They were saying that they delayed the patch just so they can get the server stable after the maintenance they did. They put the update out, and it's been okay, to be fair. It's not had an influx of players because I'll let you see my main video if you want to know what's in the season. But this section is pretty important because it is all about the offline and solo features. This is something they teased that they were going to be talking about. Which, but them saying they're talking about it means that it has to basically, you can't talk about it and then say it cannot be. Gamers will not be happy, so let's see what they
Send
say.
you a new car.
Well, yes, to win a Solar Crown line.
Exactly.
We've seen in the gameplay habits and feedback we've received from players that there's a somewhat frustrating aspect for some of them of always encountering other online players.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say they are frustrated by meeting other players. Now, just to be clear, I'm sure they mean racing. I would say I think of the whole social experience of test drive as being a core part of it. This whole section feels they are completely wrong and they're completely misunderstanding, or the translation isn't fully going across, you know? Because if you think about it, all right, TDU, social me going into the lobby, seeing the players, seeing the people driving around in free roam, this type of situation, going into a car dealership and seeing people interact with me, not just challenge me for a race, but like do a dab near the car that I'm like trying to buy. Fine, that is a cool experience. The experience that people I personally think are having issue with is the racing where they're waiting for someone to join and no one joins. Let's be real, it's very hard to find a race with someone, and when you do, it messes up the AI, makes them more difficult in a lot of cases, and so they just leave. I've had that happen twice in the 12 hours that I've played. And then the other situation is, well, they just want to progress in the game. They don't want to have to wait around. Fun fact, in the beta and the early testing versions of the game, they had it so that you had to wait 2 minutes, I think it was, until someone joined before you could, well, even if they didn't join, before you could start the race. 2 minutes, you would sit at the beginning of every race. Some of the races aren't even 2 minutes long. You would sit at the screen, and if you wanted to retry it, you'd have to wait another 2 minutes. Insane. Absolutely insane. I don't know what they're thinking, but they got this section completely twisted if everything is translated correctly.
We already noticed this phenomenon during the closed beta, where we made a change to the lobbies that allows players to validate the race immediately.
Good.
Without having to wait.
Good.
There was a long wait time, and players didn't want to wait for others and find themselves with players they weren't interested in racing with. So, we implemented this change, and it's in the game now. But we also have other modifications planned to further ease the ability for players to play the way they want.
Well, I think there are really things we want to maintain and others we want to evolve. I believe there are 3 main aspects. First, there's the end-of-life phase, moving the game toward this offline dimension.
That's it. That's the offline mention. Throughout this whole video, that is the offline mention. They think that we want an offline experience at the end of life. I'm going to tell you that that's not the case. What we wanted is the offline mode to be now, soon, quickly, as fast as possible. Because, let's be real, the crew's just announced it, and it's not near end of life, okay? The Crew 2 is now saved, Crew Mofest is now saved. I get it. It's a big undertaking when you've built the game this specific way. Completely ignore the fact that, I mentioned it months and months, maybe half a year ago, as soon as I found out. But we'll just gloss over that one because I'm sure you heard it from other people a lot earlier than you heard it from me. Right. I didn't even know where to start with this. The reason people want offline mode is because they want it to work. Not because I don't want to play with other players. I do, but I don't want to be stopped playing the game at all because other people not wanting to play or can't play or... That is the point. It is not to play a solo experience. I don't care about that. I want the ability to play my game when I want to play it. How is that so hard to understand? It's not 3 different things. I'll let you hear the other ones.
Where it can be delivered. Then there's the solo mode, as you mentioned, where we mainly want to focus on races because we know that the core gaming experience of TDU is, after all, racing.
Oh, what are you doing?
People join even though they enjoy free roam, etc. But to progress, they need to participate in races. So we want to make that experience as straightforward as possible. Thus, having a solo experience makes sense, and we want to offer that. On the other end, the third aspect is that we are still in an MMO. And we want to maintain that MMO dimension in free roam and in the hubs. This means fostering player interactions and continuing to encourage that.
If we want to do it in the races, of course, we'll have the option to wait for other players. It really depends on each player's preferred style of play. We need to allow that flexibility in TDU. If someone prefers to progress in races in a more solo manner, they should be able to do that, and we'll be able to facilitate that soon.
Playing with friends.
Playing with your group of friends, or really waiting for PvP in races. And in any case, there are game modes like Time Attack that are solo experiences.
There's Rocket, which is definitely multiplayer.
And then there will be the first season of Solar Crown Live, which is really PvP.
Oh boy. Oh boy, wow. Okay, now I think, to be honest, his mentioning of Test Drive being a racing experience primarily, like, I get it. I get what they're saying. The Solar Crown experience, is a racing experience first and foremost, and that is pretty damn obvious from the go. Test Drive Unlimited is a racing game. We can't really argue with that because that's just quite frankly the truth. What I think is the time and delivery of that was possibly the worst response I've ever seen in my life. Not only did they throw this just rubbish nonsense at us, they gave us a 3-banger of things we quite frankly don't want. To be fair, maybe the middle one was like the filling. The solo experience is nice, but they were like, oh, but you also need to, be online so you can do the interactions and things like that. Guys. This is why you really need to get some people in here and playing some star players, and not just some yes men. Because quite frankly, it seems like that's what you've had. Yes men. Or, if you haven't, from some things I've heard, you bully people out of the situation and eventually just do it anyway. I'm not saying these guys specifically, but game development can be damn messy, I can tell you. It's not just this game. Let me explain it to you guys, just so you've got it straight, right? Offline experience, positives, game will last forever, and I get to play when the servers are offline. Cool, solo experience sorted. I do love the social aspect of walking through the lobby and seeing other people, and I get the design decision on that, which means why we couldn't have houses and things like that. I don't know if I care enough. We could have done, you start in the club space. That way you could have your club garage and you have people that you kind of have a connection to. There's things like that they could have done that would have been improved. But the whole situation that they're explaining of like, oh, we've got... It kind of feels like, you remember the Xbox 360 thing? Where they announced the Xbox One and the main guy at the point was like, yeah, we have an experience if you want an offline experience. With Xbox 360. What that tells us is you've just said this to our faces. It's just focusing on my face the whole time now. It's like, yeah. I don't even know how to respond to that. Let's just move on because I'm just going to let that one sit with you. You can take that how you want, but what the
We've also been asked whether the game will support crossplay.
Okay, this is an important one.
We've considered since the early design stages of the game. It's not really a technical problem because technically the player data from different platforms, whether on PC or console, can be mixed fairly easily.
Okay.
The challenge lies more in respecting certain constraints, such as between consoles and PC.
Constraints?
There are many factors we need to be mindful of.
Like what?
For now, we prefer to concentrate all our efforts on the server side to ensure that everything works well in the main game.
Huh? Right. Let me, again, bring to this point. Crossplay. To be fair, this category, straight to the point, we're not doing it. It's not the answer I wanted, but it's straight to the point. Crossplay, they say it's technically possible, so why is it not done? If you knew that you were going to have, I don't know how many races in the game, 300 races in the game, let's say, okay? Let's just pull that number from my ass. 300 races, and what happens when you try and start a race? You search for other players, and what happens most of the time? You don't find players. And why is that? Well, it's because there's not enough players playing that particular event. Okay, so how do we figure out this situation? We can either remove the whole idea, which is one option, which, to be honest, I kind of like that route, because then maybe we could play them all offline. Option 2, add more players. And what's a kind of easy way to get more players when I've got players on multiple platforms, but they can't play together, but we have the ability to let them play together? Maybe we let them play together. And you know what's even worse, my friends? It's the next section. So not only is that being a massive oversight that, they need a lot of players for the game to work in the way they want it to, you might have realized the Xbox servers were running better than most. Then the PC, then the PlayStation were in the toilet. And I didn't go all the way up here because, like, we got to be realistic here. Not only was that the case, and that could have, you know, then rebalanced the because you have more servers specifically just for the... I don't want to spoil the next part.
And then we'll study the technical aspects of crossplay in more depth.
So they'll look at it in the future.
And you mentioned the idea of cross-platform. I know there's also an issue related to cross-region play that keeps coming up. If you have a friend in Canada and you live in Europe and want to play together, right now that's not possible.
Yeah, you just heard that. I need to replay that for feel. I need to
And you mentioned the idea of cross-platform. I know there's also an issue related to cross-region play that keeps coming up. If you have a friend in Canada and you live in Europe and want to play together, right now that's not possible.
Again, let me let that one sink in for a second. He did not say that it's not working right now. He said it's not possible. I made a video a few days ago, like a week ago maybe, with Matthew, my friend who lives in the UK, and we played the social experience of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. That is playing together, test driving together, customizing together, doing these social things together. We found the limitations, you can't go into apartments together and things like that, things that I would like to see. And we were like, it's actually pretty good. To be fair, it's an enjoyable experience that I think is pretty good. Overall, like, in terms of racing games, is doing well. That was our conclusion. And then I started to see comments coming in like, I can't play with my friend, I can't play with my friend, I can't play with my friend. I'm like, what's this about? And then some comments popped up saying, Theo, you know that people in different regions can't play together? You're joking. So not only do they have servers specifically... We'll talk about the race situation again. Servers specifically just in that one race to do the race with other people. Not only are we locked on platforms, we are locked in regions. Per region, per platform, per race. I don't know about you, but this is the job to me, from my understanding, of this guy on the other side, him over there, the game designer. The designer has to think about what's going to happen if we do something a certain way. And it's their job to simplify and make something work in the best of its way, capacity, its ability. And my guy, that is some major oversights. In every capacity there, you have made life more difficult. Honestly, I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing until my comments told me. That is crazy. Oh my god. I don't even know how to process it. It's the wildest thing I've ever heard.
That's not something we've definitely shut down. It's just that there are technical constraints behind it. What we wanted was primarily to ensure competition by region and also to provide a fair play experience for players in the same region.
Alright, this feels like someone's taken the game the route they really just shouldn't have. So we've already mentioned how Test Drive shouldn't be seen as a racing game primarily, and I kind of agree with that, kind of don't. It's the way you progress in the game is doing races, and it's always been the case. But the social experience is the real gameplay. The social experience and the life sim situation. So the cake, the icing. The cake is, I guess, then like the icing is always nice. So the cake is the racing, right? The icing is what you see. It's what you want. But you want I don't know, to get further in the analogy, I'll be here all day. but essentially, it seems like they came with the great idea to do a new Test Drive game. And it seems like they kept digging themselves further and further into a ditch until they realized that maybe we've built this game completely wrong, and they didn't realize that until now. Oh my god, guys. I just they've gone from, all right, let's build a test drive game. Oh, we want it to be focused on the competition. Red flag, that's a problem. The competition of other players should not be the primary focus. But again, the argument of the crew released its stats. 3 million people have done the solo experience. Like 3 million playlists were played versus 30 million of the PvP sessions, which it's kind of mental. I can't comprehend that at all. But don't look at... I mean, you clearly didn't look at the crew enough, because the crew 1 had the same issue with the PvP lobbies, and they had like 5. And you have 300-ish. And the crew now has crossplay on its PvP, still, you know, limited elsewhere, but they fixed that situation of, you know, Xbox not having that many players compared to one platform or the other. 2015 had a similar issue. The Xbox experience wasn't as good as other places because you couldn't play online in the same way. Adding crossplay to Need for Speed Heat, Need for Speed Unbound instantly made it so that no matter what, there's a reason to play. And it's not like it's an FPS game, because if it was an FPS game, you'd be like, all right, well, what about cheating? And what about keyboard and mouse versus controller? Keyboard and mouse is better. Therefore, maybe you do like controller and lobbies, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but what if they have a wheel, Theo, on the PC? You can have a wheel on console. What difference is there? Cheating, potentially? But who cares? I am so fed up of racing games being about PvP. I do not care. That should not be the primary focus, especially for a test drive game. Let people play how they want. That's why you've done the solar pass in the way that you want. Clearly you didn't look... The crew got rid of its whole stupid battle pass situation. Need for Speed said they don't want to do the battle pass, but they have to do it because they don't have the ability to build a new tool right now for this game. In the next game, they probably won't use it. You did no market research, it seems. Other than, PvP good, Call of Duty. Jesus Christ.
For example, there will be a problem if you're playing in Europe against Americans. If you find yourself in the same race, you can be sure that you'll lag. And the racing...
I don't care. If I want to play with friends, the crew has a simple fix, which actually, by the way, this isn't even an issue in the crew. You can just play nonetheless. It will align the server so that you can actually play. Yes, you will have more lag, but stop making it about competition. This is not a competitive game. Overall, yes, there are competitive elements to the game. Make those aspects rock solid. Everything else, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if there's a couple of rubber banding baboons in my race. As long as I can race with them when I choose to. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the crew's option that lets you solve this situation, and a quick fix that would solve this game's problem. Stop letting the game decide the region that I'm in. What if I went on holiday and wanted to play test drive? Oh wait, I need an internet connection for one, which already makes it more difficult. Number 2, what you could do is just, how about set the option to me. Let me pick the region that I'm connecting to. I don't care if it's laggy. I don't give a damn. I will only pick that and do that if I primarily play with friends that are in Australia or in America. I will set it and then change it back. Do it by session. Let me pick the server that I join at the beginning. What the What? It's such an obvious fix.
Conditions will be absolutely terrible. To ensure a really good experience, we prefer to keep people in the...
We're going to be in lobbies doing like wank signs and stuff. We're going to be like, oi, wanker. I don't care!
Same region and compete in ranked matches and races simply to have a cool experience for everyone, limited to specific regions. To create large regions in which players are. This isn't a debate that's completely closed. We may allow cross-region play, but it might create sessions where players are isolated to play together. They won't disturb others, and of course, they won't have access to ranked mode. These are things we're thinking about.
Talk about over-engineering.
But right now, that's not the priority. However, you see the principle, because I think it's important to understand that our goal, like with crossplay, is always to present something of high quality, and to understand its constraints, making sure that it works in our regions. And then, regarding smaller constraints like that, of course, we'll address them.
Well, because connections are relatively fast now.
Of course.
But we realize that when we connect continents,
Yes.
we quickly experience lag. We've tested it, and yeah, it's better not to do it for now because
Well, it's not
the
only...
experience isn't enjoyable.
Do it for PvP only. You like I said earlier, Xbox people genuinely have issues on a lot of games where, because it's the lower player count, there's no cross-play in some situations, they struggle to find races in the game and they get bored and leave. Not only are you console locking it, you're region locking it, which means people, I don't know, in Australia on Xbox are going to find nobody on their servers. You thought, yep, that's fine, ship it. Instead of going, no, let's actually mix them in with other people just in case. Oh, let's mix them in with the platforms just in case. You didn't think of these things beforehand? I can't comprehend it.
Plus,
honestly.
it's one of the issues you encountered at the beginning of at launch. There were servers that were a bit too far apart, which led to response issues. And that creates problems with, well, simply server performance. And you were getting stuck in certain areas, etc. So we had to redivide these regions, and in the end, you see, it's issues that causes many other small problems. And that's why we shouldn't rush these subjects. We need to think carefully about them, and it's always to provide the best possible experience.
But it sounds like you rushed the fix. Sounds like maybe they did this during even the beta or after the fact, which the beta they put like a week or two before.
So it's really important for you to understand that we're trying to have a stable game, and now we're going to try to move to the next level, which means making the game better and better by putting building blocks together to construct a massive castle.
It's true that we've received quite a bit of feedback on the AI in the game, particularly regarding difficulty. How it works in TDU is that when you first encounter the AI, during the onboarding phase, for example, they're not very strong. Everyone has noticed this. I think they're quite easy to beat. We have a ranking system that assesses the player's level, and as you progress in races, when you're playing against a lot of AI in a solo mode, the difficulty of the opponents in the races adjusts to the player's level.
Very slowly.
So when you're in first place, because it's easy at the beginning and you keep finishing first, eventually you end up facing expert level AI, and it becomes much more challenging to win.
So let them set it manually.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We essentially do the same thing as what happens in ranked matches. It's an ELO score, and you're racing against the AI based on your position in the race.
Yeah, the ELO system is the ranking system we use in chess, for example.
It's the same system.
It allows us to assess the level of all players relative to one another quite simply and quickly.
Exactly.
The stronger you are, the...
Why is this waffle, my guys? What is this waffle? Just tell me that you're going to fix the damn AI.
To their level. It's exactly what we do in multiplayer.
Okay,
We want
you just
to
said
pass
that.
and stay in their lanes. You've seen that they don't pay attention to you because they're focused on being the
Okay.
some cars, like a book.
There
Okay.
you go.
I think now it's easier to go
I've
the other
seen
way.
players beat them.
There are AIs, so we have players who are robots.
machines.
That's something else. They're machines. And then there's also the perception. Many people reported that there are 2 CV passing us.
I've seen that, it's true.
While we're in an Audi TT,
There's so many sections in here that are just quite frankly them waffling and saying copium, 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 copium. What you should tell me is we understand that AI, people are having issues, we're going to rebalance them, and ultimately that's that. They talk about the meta, fine. Talk about compensation. This one's pretty important.
So, following the problems we had with the servers at the game's launch, well, we've corrected a lot of issues and hopefully we won't have any more.
Cool.
We've fixed all the network problems, but that said, for the players who were there on the first days,
Have you?
it was complicated and we want to offer them compensation.
yeah, well, a nice compensation. I think that right now we don't exactly know what we want to do. We're still discussing it among ourselves. The goal is, what takes time right now is not so much to give it to you, but to provide you with something that matches what happened with the servers.
Refund! What do you mean? I paid for early access. I didn't get early access. What should I receive in compensation? The difference. What? Refund the amount of money, or give me a pissing Nacon controller and I'll sell it. Give me genuine compensation. They're talking about they don't want to give us money, they don't want to give us a car, things like that. Cool, I'm fine with that because I do like the whole progression system, not test drive specifically, but I like progressing in my games. I don't want money. What's the point, man? You just mess up the economy, blah, 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 blah. It could ruin the experience for people that are enjoying it generally. So don't do that. Okay, so what is the solution? They just say, we'll figure it out. We don't know.
Of course, it won't be 1 million solo coins. We know that will just ruin your experience. We're looking for something that makes sense in a TDU context, so that's coming.
Expect it to be a TDU sticker. Shove your stickers up your bum. Jesus Christ. And here's the conclusion, blah, 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 blah. Quite frankly, this was one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. I want to say, again, out of the gate, I really appreciate the transparency, the fact that they made this video. It feels like, you know, they just sat down and kind of had topics to discuss and things like that. I think it could have been done in a shorter period of time. I think that it waffled on a little bit too long. I think they could have put more budget into it because, you know, you've just got all this fresh cash from us, you know, spending on gold when we didn't actually get access to the game. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't hear a sorry, where we feel terrible, nothing in this at all that makes me feel like they are sincerely sorry for the situation, which is just kind of crazy. It's just kind of mental. I really don't understand how there's not one sorry. It didn't feel like I heard it. And I skipped the conclusion. I watched through it before. I still didn't hear a sorry. And if they did do it, it was well hidden. It should have been the very first thing that they damn said. Moving on. I am skeptical whether this game can be saved. The problem being that they just quite frankly don't get it. Not to say that everyone is that way, but that the main head, that the position of who goes yes to everything seemingly doesn't quite understand what the players were actually after. And that is such a difficult thing to then shift. It's going to be borderline like maybe impossible for them to actually solve the problems, because let's look at the pillars of issues they've got to solve. I'm going to say the driving experience, let's just leave it. It's fine. It's not the best, but that's something that has never been the best. What is missing is the core test drive experience in where you can buy property, you have delivery missions, you meet people. I hate that I was debated into thinking there was going to be a story in the game. There was no more cutscenes beyond the first opening cutscene. It makes no sense that you would build that technology, build the ability, and then never use it ever again. That's ridiculous. That is a gaping hole that is missing in this experience. And I don't think that's going to be solved because you clearly have a conflict of interest in terms of you want people to have this social experience when they walk through the lobby, which I think you should look at the data and see that most people walk through and do not interact with people. They will look at the cars to make it the clubhouse and let people have their cars in the clubhouse and then do everything from there. It gives another use of those. Solo hotel, couldn't give a damn. Quite honestly, couldn't do it. My apartment, cool. Can't even have my friends come to it. That's supposed to be part of the social and life sim experience in Test Drive. What if I want to have a party? TDU2 opened with a party. I can't have a party? Ridiculous. And core issue number 2 is you guys wanted to build a PvP experience, and that's not what people wanted from a Test Drive Unlimited experience. What they wanted is this, and you built this. That is a gaping hole that is missing, and it also isn't that great of an experience at all anyway. TDU should never have gone for that route. I don't know why they decided to go that route. They could have built a really cool live sim that would have breached past racing game fanatics. It would have been like look at all the Sims kind of clones that are coming out recently. I'm interested because I want that life sim experience, but I can't seem to get it in my life sim racing game, which is really not fun. I just don't get it. The amount of cool buildings and the cool location that they could have dealt with, like done stuff with, it's just in the bin. It's useless. There's absolutely no reason for it all to exist. And so these are real core problems with the game, and quite frankly, they're built into the game. And let's just sprinkle on the always online on top, which clearly is going to be, I don't know what's going on. Realistically, I think the AI are probably calculated server side or assigned levels or whatever server side. There is some link to the AI server side, and that's why they are so just convoluted and confused. The fact that the crew can announce that they're going to make a solo version when that game is properly an online experience, they're going to have to do some crazy changes to get the game to work. And the fact that they're committed to doing that is honestly amazing. And I can't believe we've managed to achieve something like that. Test Drive, I don't think they're ever going to be able to do it. They really needed more time, and I'm not blaming them because Nacon, of course, would have made the call to be like, you need to get this game out. They gave them a long time to make this game, but it seems like their employee turnaround has really done some damage, and they've had the wrong idea from go. It's basically what it boils down to. So anyway, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. I'm going to be watching from afar. I'm going to be checking out all the updates every now and again, but I cannot tell you that you should be excited for this game in any capacity, because it's just not it. I think GTA 6 Online, GTA Online 2 is going to be the better Test Drive experience, and that's kind of funny, but also really sad because we have to wait a whole year plus. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and let me know what you thought of this long video. Let me know if I should do more of these. I'm kind of thinking this is what this channel is going to be about, just like extra stuff, because I couldn't do a 40-minute video on this on the main channel. I think people would click away very quickly. Anyway, appreciate you. Please subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, my friends.